This is an ArseBros production. Follow us on Twitter at the ArseBros. Get all our content on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, and SoundCloud at ArseBros. And if you like what you hear, don't forget to smash that subscribe button.
Welcome to an ArseBros OG, but not quite the original OG. We have a new member tonight filling in for our esteemed Arse brother Max, who's just had his first child. So welcome, Darren. I feel like I'm popping my Darren cherry tonight. We've been waiting.
I'm not sure I like being called a member.
or a member in the same breath as popping a cherry. It's quite an analogy, that one. But
so was it like being in the big chair?
Oh, I've done it once or twice before for our monthly pod, which don't really happen so much anymore. But it's all right. We'll see how it goes. There might be a little less structure. There could be more structure. Who knows? As
I said to you before we started, all you've got to do is ask a question within a statement within a question and say rhinoceros cock a few times and nobody will know the difference. Exactly.
We're not starting from a particularly high bar. It's a very low bar to begin with. But in any case, it's quite joyous actually, this conversation. So we'll have a couple of negatives like always along the way. I don't think we could be proper fans without having those. But I almost mixed, because in Australia the one good point about being ahead of the world, I guess, ahead of the Northern Hemisphere by 11 hours, is that Max and I get to do a pod and have a instant chat and it's up before anything else is up. So that's the one advantage of watching it in the morning down under. But in any case, let's.
But the downside is you have to live in Australia. Huh?
Well, there is that. It is less of the free country as it once was. I would have to say. But in any case, let's talk some football. What was your feeling? What was your mood straight after the game?
Look, after that last 10 minutes of the game, it was relief. You know that. I think when Arteta said that was the worst 10 minutes of football we've played, and it really was, wasn't it? I mean, you think I've just rewatched the game, the highlights anyway, 5 minutes of them, and that last 10 minutes where you've got Gabriel, who's been fairly secure, did you see that one where he just thumped it about 40 foot in the air? You know, and Partey took one off for a corner. It was just relief. But it is funny, isn't it, how the mood has changed, because in the game that we played at White Hart Lane towards the start of the season, we had, I think it was 32 crosses, but we were in the middle of a bad run and everyone said how terrible we played. And Spurs just counter-attacked twice and scored 2 games. This game, we had 26 crosses and everyone says we're playing brilliantly. So it's just, the mood is so much better at the moment. So, but we dominated at their place and we dominated at our place, but it was still scary. So yeah, just relief.
It certainly was. The one that sticks in my mind is the Partey pass to nobody for the corner. And by that time, I'm starting to brick it, and it's very difficult for us in Oz because we're watching it on delay. You know, the games happen the night before sometimes, so I'm very tempted to start clicking the fast forward button just to ease the agony slightly. But yeah, the other thing you were saying was the some of the relentless crossing and the impotent possession that we had at times was slightly frustrating. But I think we'll get onto that a little bit later. We'll start. I will attempt to start with a little bit of structure. What were your thoughts on the lineup, first of all? So there's a couple of, I'll try not to make a statement before you laugh at me. A couple of points of interest for me. So, Cedric starting on the right, we had a feeling there would be some type of defensive move to counteract their attacking front four, and ESR on the left, and of course no Oba. So over to you, your thoughts.
Well, Look, I've been a Bellerin fan since I don't know if you know my history, so but I'm a season ticket holder. I've been pretty much all my life, and when I've been living in this country, I go. So I watched
Yep.
people like Bellerin make their debut, and
Mm.
we were so he looked like he was going to be the best right back in the world. So I love him.
He
And if
certainly
you
did.
look at him outside of the game, he's smart, he's intelligent, he's fashion conscious, he's socially aware. He is your perfect footballer. When you've got so many modern day footballers that can't string a sentence together, and I wanted him to be so good, but he hasn't been. You know, I mean, since his injury, he's still. I mean, his numbers are good. He's scoring goals. He's setting up crosses, but he's just hasn't made it. And when now Barcelona talk about paying 20, 30 million for him, yeah, take it. And I think Cedric has earned his place. I mean, Cedric's crossing's been good, his defending's been good. So I was actually quite pleased to see Cedric play there. Aubameyang, well, I guess we should talk. I mean, what do you think on there? Is Arteta, he's upset Guendouzi, he's upset Torreira, he's upset Ozil. All of them have left the club. And now he puts our captain on the bench for turning up late, or if that's the story we believe.
I like it.
On that?
I like it. I like it. Not because I'm a key disciplinarian in my life. I couldn't be further from the opposite. But in terms of the player power and our sort of lack of hard edge and the lack of respect for culture on and off the pitch, I don't mind it at all. I feel like he's a boxer. He's going around chinning pricks left, right, and center. And he's getting rid of that sort of old guard and that old mentality where, you know, fourth place was good enough or thereabouts was good enough. And you shit the bed as soon as you know, I mean, I know I'm talking in the past here, but as soon as you go into the knockouts in the Champions League, you shit the bed and you're out the first round, you know, or you come up against your Bayern Munich or something like that and lose 10-1 on aggregate. So I really don't mind it. And I feel with the power play from Arteta, it could have so bitten him in the arse. Because Laka didn't, we will talk about this, but Laka didn't exactly set the world on fire. So to chin your captain like that and say, look, this is the culture, you know, I don't care if you're in traffic, you're supposed to set the example, blah, blah, blah. Like I said, I'm not a big disciplinarian in my life in that regard, but in terms of that culture and the amount of money being paid, and dare I say, the unsuitability of Aubameyang as a captain, just from his nature, I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. You know, in my opinion, Aubameyang should be a goal scorer and a happy guy, a good time guy. And when he gets on that happy roll, he's going to put the ball in the back of the net. I don't think he should be anywhere near the armband.
Well, that's exactly my point I was going to make. I hate to agree with everything you said, but there was, if those of you listen to me, Max and Liam on Thursday Night Live, I've got a big problem with Aubameyang being captain. He is exactly what you say. He's a great goal scorer. He gives us something different. He's a top-class player, always has been. But there was a game at the start of the season. We were away at Manchester City, and we lost 1-0, I think it was. I forget. I see a lot of games. It all goes into one. But the camera went to Aubameyang at the final whistle. We've just lost 1-0. And Aubameyang, he's laughing and joking with some of his Manchester City mates, you know, and he's got a big smile, that big smile on his face. He makes me look miserable. You know, he's got this big smile on his face. And I grew up in the era of watching, you know, I watched Tony Adams make his debut. I've seen Patrick Vieira all through his career. And those players, Tony Adams would not have smiled for 3 days. He might have got drunk for 3 days, but he wouldn't have smiled for 3 days, and nobody would have dared smile. And they would have gone on that bus home from Manchester, and there would have been a terrible atmosphere. And I think that's what the problem was. It was a very soft club at Arsenal. You know, everyone just seemed to be happy, and we're just all going through the motions. And Aubameyang was part of that. He's part of that end of Wenger, Emery sort of reign where it didn't really matter. the scary thing for me is that Arteta is looking so grumpy at the moment. I mean, in the last 6 weeks, when we're actually playing quite well and things are working quite well, he has been so grumpy in the press conferences with reporters. You can see him on the side. He just looks unhappy. And the players have all bought into it and they're scared shitless now of doing anything wrong. But I mean, that's it. They're all fearful, and that could just be on a knife edge.
I don't mind it. I really don't mind it. I mean, and I know we project what we want to see or what we want to believe, but if he's got, and I said this the other day, I mean, I know it's a very, I know it's a very easy analogy or comparison to take, but if you've got the obsessive prickliness of Pep, and he was someone who was under Pep's wing and who Pep admired, maybe that obsessive prickliness is there as well. It's not about being content. It's about accountability, culture. The one thing that I would draw comparisons with as well, we're starting to see the semblance of a bit of a squad as well. You know how people came on and did a job, and, you've got backups for certain players and certain ways of playing as well. And dare I say, even bloody Willian is starting to fit into, you're starting to see, the first sprouts of something germinating. We're starting to see a reason for him being there and a style of play when he's on the pitch. So I'm not saying that should be first choice, but if you need to defend well and hold possession a little bit more and not expose yourself to the transitions, maybe he is a better option at times.
I just love the way that Arteta is changing and reforming this club. You can see he's rebuilding it from the bottom up, isn't he? He really is. I mean, it's kind of funny. I wasn't over keen on his appointment. I just thought it was a strange appointment that we employ someone at Arsenal Football Club, one of the biggest clubs in the world, who's never done the job before. I mean, all right, he's got a good apprenticeship, but that doesn't mean he could do it.
Yeah, I agree, particularly when there was talk of him before Emery. I totally wasn't keen then. Anyway, I interrupted you.
All I'm saying is that I'm enjoying watching Arsenal again. I mean, that's the thing.
So am I.
I'm a very positive fan, and suddenly, it's a strange situation because we've still got a very good defence. It's the same players that were under Emery that was struggling under Emery. But piece by piece, they weren't very good. David Luiz mistakes all over the place, bearing out, long-term injury. Kolasinac at left back. We had a terrible defence, but without doing too much. He's eased a couple of players out. He's eased some players in, and now whoever plays, whether it be Holding or Gabriel or Mari or David Luiz, they all seem to know what they're doing. Everyone seems to have a job. And for the first, 6 months of this season, it was hard to watch because we can't score any goals, defensively. And then, of course, every week we throw in a present. Every week, let's give them a goal start. Let's do something, and we haven't been able to score goals. But bit by bit, he's rebuilding this club with some discipline, and there's some fabulous football being played now, and I'm excited to watch Arsenal again. And all those fans that criticise Arteta, all those fans that, there was a lot of Arteta out. I used to be on the Clock In Talk podcast, and I couldn't believe when, like 3 months into the season, he's got to go. And I'm thinking, well, why would you want to do this? This is a guy, if we've taken a chance on him, let's see how it goes, and I've always thought, give him another couple of transfer windows, let him get rid of those players that he doesn't want on his side, let him get rid of the people who haven't bought into his project. Let's, and I'm loving it now. And the fact that he got rid of our captain, who shouldn't be captain. I mean, there's not a lot of other choices in that team, but he go on the bench. I love that. It just depends how Aubameyang reacts to it. Who should be captain? We've got a real issue there. Who should be captain of that side?
I was having this discussion.
The only correct answer is Granit Xhaka, by the way. But who?
No, I love that you say that because I was winding people up today on our group with that exact comment. I would say probably KT would be my number one choice. My concern with him is that he's a biscuit. So do you know the Aussie term biscuit for a very brittle player?
Oh, okay.
Very brittle. He breaks easily. So he's always out injured. That's part of my concern. This is a very polarizing comment, and a lot of my fellow Arse brothers will completely shit a brick as soon as I say this, but Shaq has been about our best player for the last 2.5 months.
Agreed.
The leadership and control that he shows on the pitch is exactly what we've been lacking. Now, I know he's had errors in his games, whether how exposed he was in previous systems, whether his midfield partners weren't good enough, whether he just wasn't motivated to be aware all the time, or whether he hadn't had his balls tickled and he was empowered to be that leader. But when you see leadership on the pitch, as a fan, that's what you should love. Not whether or not you like him off the field or what he says on fucking social media or any of that stuff. What I'm seeing at the moment is an organizer, someone who slows the play down when we need to, someone who distributes well when we need to, someone who covers other people defensively when we need to, and then a new element to his game. He's starting to press very well and tackle very well. We won every single second ball against Spurs. We absolutely dominated the midfield. And I think Ødegaard was part of that. I'd just like to put that in there. But him and Partey were absolutely like manically, brilliantly tough and solid. And that's everything that Arsenal hasn't been for a number of years. So unpopular, I know, but I've said it.
You say unpopular. I'm just having a quick look at the comments there. ArseBros Ryan. I'd rather have Willian as captain before Xhaka. Scanner, Xhaka had a chance before he blew it more than a hooker. You know, it does divide it. But I'm a bit worried about Tierney as captain. I thought he would be Arsenal captain of the future. You've only got to watch him for a couple of weeks, but I'm not sure he really fits in with the group. I'm not sure, he's so different from every player in that pitch. I'm not sure they would pay much attention to him. He's also not that vocal. He's really not. But when you see him all turning up with their $300 headphones and their designer suits as they turn up, and he turns up with his Tesco carrier bag, I'm not sure that's also what we want representing Arsenal Football Club. We love him as a player. Really, really would love to, Tierney's to sort of, if we had 11 Tierneys, we'd be champions of the world. But but I'm not really sure it's captain material. But there's no one else, is there? I mean, Gabriel looks nervous as anything at the end.
Yep. And he's young. He's younger than he looks. I wouldn't give it to David Luiz because he's a Chelsea player still. I'm not seeing a lot of other people there. I mean, Lacazette gets it for his seniority in the squad. I see you chuckling away with something
I've just seen another comment there. Sorry, this is from the Gooners podcast. Darren, you seem lovely, which I like. Yes, I am very lovely. But you're describing the exact reason why Tierney should be captain. And let me just develop on that. Is that, I'm saying I think he could be an Arsenal captain of the future. But at the moment, he seems like a little bit of he just doesn't seem to fit in that, the personality of the other players.
I disagree. I love it. Call me a dinosaur, but all this overpaid twat fest and your fucking Prada bags and your fucking high heels and your designer fucking everything, that's so disconnected from the football fan anyway. So I'd love to bring back a bit of the old school. I mean, like I said, call me a dinosaur, but this overpaid shite where there's just too many prima donnas about.
Let me just interrupt you. Quick story. I mean, I know I'm very, very old, and I've been watching Arsenal since about mid-70s, really. Season to get older since 1980. I'm a long time. I was queuing up at Highbury for a ticket. I've told this story before many times, but I was queuing up for a ticket at the old Highbury Stadium in the days. It was a cup game, I don't know, quarter-final, semi-final, and you used to be able to go and queue for tickets, and the queue would go all the way around the stadium. And I'd got there early, and I was at the entrance to the clock end, where you could, there was a sort of like an entrance there for people to drive in, and the players used to train underneath the stand. They put an artificial turf. This is well before the days where London Colney is what it is. So the players used to go and train on this artificial pitch underneath the clock end. And I happened to be in the queue where the barrier was, where they left this little road open where the players could come in for training. And I'm standing there, and I think there was only two I saw, but Kevin Campbell came in what was a Ford XR3 or RS2000, the fanciest car you could have in that day. You know, it was like
still a cool car.
convertible.
The RS2000 is still a cool car.
Convertible, music blaring out, you know, and he all the music in his black, and you know, that black sounds coming out, and he drove in waving to the crowd. Behind him came David Hillier, who, you know, was a fairly mediocre midfield player for us, who does now work for Arsenal and Arsenal.com. He turned up in a Mark II Escort, brown Mark II Escort, which I owned. I was 17, you know, it was my first car. And you sort of felt part of the players, you know, you felt alongside them, you know. If I did well, I could get an RS2000, and I had a Mark II Escort, you know. But now you see them with their Lamborghinis in there, you know. It's just, they're so far apart. So the TV thing with the Tesco bag, love it, I love it, love it.
I have to pull you up on one thing though. As a car guy, I know that there was never an RS2000 convertible.
In which case, like my memory as I'm getting old, it was wrong. But it was a sexy car. It was definitely a Ford, and it was definitely a convertible. You know, maybe he had the top cut off. You know, he was a professional footballer. He was earning £200 a week.
True. Which does not make for good handling and chassis rigidity. But anyway, I digress. Yeah. So I mean, that's a very good discussion on the captaincy thing. And, you know, there's not many leaders at the club rather, and there's certainly not many leaders on the pitch. And I think that's something that Arsenal have lacked for a really long time. We've had captains off the pitch that more often or not don't play. That was a common occurrence for about 5 years or so. So performers on the pitch, and call me polarizing, but I would say Aubameyang is a figurehead leader, a figurehead captain, and I would say Xhaka's the actual captain on the pitch. So
couldn't agree more.
Come at me, bitches.
Well, we both said Xhaka, so
we did. Just get my next point up. All right, so
look at you all organised with a list of things to talk about.
Mate,
this is done to say. We didn't mention at the start, Max has had a kid. Should that be allowed? And what a scary looking baby.
Oh well, there was a picture of her looking at him, going, "Who the fuck is this cunt?" So I think that's very apt for Max in any case. But I've been laughing at him because what Max has done for many a year, and we shouldn't do too many inside jokes, but I think people watch the pod, they know who Max is. He is a piece of shit who enjoys the pain and suffering of other people and really dislikes anyone showing any love or outward-facing affection. It threatens him. So as soon as he starts gushing over this little person, we can all laugh at him and calling him the mushiest cunt that ever fucking walked the planet, and he's just like the rest of us. So fuck off. Anyway. So, question, Daz. How bad were Mourinho's tactics? Or did we play well?
Well, I don't think we gave them a chance to play. That's how good we were. You know, I mean, you know, we've watched Arsenal all season. I've said to her, I'm in a WhatsApp group with some mates. It's a nice mix of London clubs. There's 3 West Ham, 3 Tottenham, a Chelsea, and myself. And somebody said to us, I posted about 2 months ago after we'd lost again. Somebody was taking the piss, and I said, this Arsenal side will be very, very good in 6 to 12 months. I feel this Arsenal side will be very good, but at the moment we're just so fragile. And that's that fragility, giving away goals early. Just, you know, there's so many mistakes in this side, and that last 10 minutes sort of emphasised that point. Is that we were dominating for 80 minutes, and then suddenly we just look so fragile. So when you talk about Mourinho, I think we were that good and that well prepared that we just didn't let them play. You know, we kept Kane quiet, we kept Son quiet for the 20 minutes he was on. We didn't let them get out. We were first to every ball. Mourinho being manager of Tottenham Hotspur is like karma to me. You know, when there was talk of him becoming Arsenal manager, I could not believe there was a single Arsenal fan anywhere that would want that cunt. Can I say cunt on this podcast? That cunt.
You absolutely
to manage
can.
our football club. And when he went to Tottenham, it's just the perfect synergy. The man I hate most in the world of football management is now the team I hate most in the world of football.
It's wonderful, isn't it? It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Because if you couldn't, not being living in London, certainly not for many, many years, we over here don't have that unbridled tribalism. Okay. So absolutely dislike them immensely. But to have the extra layer of Mourinho on top of that, that really brings back the hate in a beautiful way that almost harks back to, you know, your early 2000s Man United type of hatred. It's perfect. It's exactly what we need. You know, they're a mid-table club. We're a mid-table club. They have a manager that we fucking hate with all of our hearts. And he didn't even get them playing. He didn't even get them playing. They didn't bother pressing. They didn't do anything with their attack-minded players. He just let us have the ball. They didn't counter particularly well, like in the last game. And all of a sudden, we're dominating possession for that period of time. And they didn't even wake up until cunt-face fucking Lamella came on. Yeah. So my issue with that from the first half was how many opportunities we spurned again. So the profligacy of our attack and how sterile we were in domination again, and the 57 gazillion fucking crosses when we don't really have a natural header of the ball. I felt in that first stanza that we were doing what we always do, and we were missing our opportunities, and lo and behold, we went a goal down. 2-part question: how bad we were at not taking our opportunities, and then the Lamella worldie.
Yeah, I mean, you'd hit the nail on the head. Seeing Arteta is one thing I'm not quite sure I agree with Arteta. He plays this game where we want to play crosses. You know, we want to put crosses in. 26 in this game, 32 in the previous game, and yet we haven't got a player who can head the ball. I mean, Aubameyang, I know he wasn't playing, but Aubameyang is the worst header of the ball for a centre-forward I've ever seen. You know, Lacazette should be good, but he's not. You know, so
he's awful heading the ball.
So let's put 26 crosses in and not have anyone who can head it. So that's a concern, and I don't know how we fix that. I actually prefer Lacazette in that position than Aubameyang at the moment. I just think in that sort of game.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I just
this
think
is the first thing this is the first thing we've disagreed with.
I just don't
I've been really happy with Aubameyang through the middle. As long as you've got the creativity on the, you know, on the wings and the number 10 doing their job and the overlapping fullbacks, all he needs to do is get his foot on the ball, and at least he's a finisher. And when he drags out over to the left, and you know, like your Odegaards come closer in, or your Saka's play as a second centre forward, I feel like it's worked. I'm surprised. I'm surprised at your Lacazette comment.
I think maybe I've got a bit of a downer on Aubameyang. Just full stop. I've never thought he was a great finisher. You said he was a great finisher.
Well,
I think he's
so quick,
a lot. Yeah. And he's so quick. And when we're playing against teams that have got to play a high line, he's so good at getting in behind and finishing. But actually, chances he gets in, he misses more than he scores. You know, he's not a prolific goal scorer.
So contrast that to Lacazette. How?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Lacazette in that sort of game where you want a bit of bite, a little bit of tackle, and somebody who attempts to hold the ball up, somebody who drops deep and makes all that system work. Because Odegaard and Smith Rowe and Saka, if you haven't got that pivot at the middle in Lacazette at the moment, and I'm not saying he's the right answer, but unless you've got that player, he's the one who does try and link it up. Aubameyang does one thing. He sits over on the shoulder of on the left hand side of the pitch, and he runs over the top. I mean, that's it. He doesn't get tap-ins. He's not that sort of player. I would imagine that 50% of his goals are the ones that he runs onto and he finishes. Very, very good at that skill. But I'm not. Look at you drinking a beer. I've even got my Guinness glass with me today, but it's filled with water. This is not food. I'm not saying Lacazette is the answer, but I'm just a little bit. I think when Aubameyang plays on the left-hand side, it's a waste of time. It's just a waste of our time.
Yeah. I'm not into it. I'm not into Aubameyang on the left anymore. To me, it's done. In the pre-match discussion, when they were talking about Lacazette through the centre and Aubameyang on the left, I was like, fucking why? You're not going to hold possession on the left. He's not going to press. Lacazette's unlikely to score. He's not, it just, to me, it seemed insane that was even in the thought process. I would have any number of players on the left over Aubameyang at the moment. And to me, Aubameyang's in the centre or bust, I would have to say. But back to our point of the wasted opportunities in the first half. Did you feel that it was, here we go again? That domination without scoring and then conceding
all season. More especially in the last 2 months because we're playing well and we're creating chances. But we've never had this problem of not scoring goals. We really haven't had this problem. It's always been the defence.
It's more the other end, yeah.
And now we've finally got a team that's creating chances. And we should. I bet on Arsenal winning 4-0, 3-0 and 4-0 every game. It's a historical thing. We actually win 3-4-0 a lot in Arsenal's history. I've hardly won a bet all year. We're just struggling to score those. We're just struggling. Something's not right. And I think we might see it at the end of the year. I mean, I don't know about Aubameyang, but I think if he could get an upgrade on Lacazette, because I think that's the right type of player for the system that he's playing, but we just need someone who's just a little bit better, a bit more clinical. He just isn't scoring the goals. I've been defending Lacazette a lot over the last year or so. He was player of the season 2 years ago, was it? 2-3 years ago? He was a player.
Not long ago, yeah. So it must be 3 seasons ago now.
Yeah, and he didn't go suddenly bad to me. He didn't, 1 year to the next. The goals just dried up. He still worked.
I felt it was the injuries more with Lacazette. You remember he was carrying something for a fair while without getting operated on or something. It was an ankle and he had a dry spell and he's just never gone on a run again. Whereas we first got him, that first game against Stoke with that stupid disallowed goal because his fucking toe was offside or something. And we can get onto that as well, especially me being a dinosaur. Like this fucking bullshit VAR offside. It's just awful. But yeah, I mean, he was clinical, but it really died off. And now he looks quite cumbersome. He doesn't look very quick. He works hard, so I love and respect him for that. But we need more from a number 9. He's not a great connector. He can't head the ball. He's not a great goal scorer anymore. He's lost that innate ability to get on the end of something. So I say sell. Anyway,
I don't want to talk about VAR, but I've always been against VAR, and I am officially a dinosaur. I'm old enough. I was around when they were just young.
When the wheel was invented.
And I've always been opposed to VAR because, as a football fan, we all love football for scoring goals, and that immediate joy is gone now out of the game. It's just gone. And a really good example of this, I was watching the game on Sunday afternoon, big North London derby, my least favourite game of the season because it's too much riding on it, especially when both teams are mid-table. It becomes the pivotal game of the season. And I know we're in lockdown here, but I had a couple of mates around, a Chelsea fan, an American guy who's got no interest in football whatsoever, spends the whole game betting. But the two of them were watching, and when Arsenal scored scored the winner, that they're looking at me as if I'm going to run around the room and jump. And I said, "What's the matter? You've scored." And I said, "Yeah, I'm just waiting to see. Now I've got to wait." And that's the trouble. You have to now wait to see if someone sitting in an office is going to decide that that's a stupid decision.
No, it's a very, very good point. It's taken the immediate joy out of it, and I think something needs to be done to change.
Did you find watching the Europa League games? They sort of do it slightly different in Europe. I can't really put my finger on why, but it doesn't seem to matter so much. The referee refs the game, and things are checked, things are done. But here, I don't know whether it's the broadcasters, but everyone says, "Oh, they're so concentrating on VAR," whereas in the Europa League, it seems to be a bit more in the background. And
it's probably branded, and it's part of the fucking marketing package, I would say. But I hates it, and I wish it would go. I think it takes the joy out of football. I think it takes a lot of the debate out of football. And what we've seen this season is that things are subjective anyway. So what's the fucking point of being solely objective when the rules are subjective? So get fucked, throw it out, have a fight, have an argument. That's what football's about. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah,
and celebrate.
I've just remembered your question was about Lamela. I don't know how we got all the way around.
Oh, good. All right. Thank you. Now you really are taking bloody Max's place. Go on.
Fucking hated it. One of the best goals I've ever seen.
I know.
Hated it.
I know.
That is such a horrible, nasty. Oh, a series. I must have said something. I must have lisped then, and she said, "Thought I said Siri." No, I said Lamela's a cunt. He's such a horrible player. He's that Argentinian. He's dirty. He's nasty. Leaves a foot in. Horrible player to watch.
He looks like a prick.
Mourinho
he's slimy.
Yeah, he's everything. Yeah. But we've got to say, well, not only one of the best goals I've ever seen, it's in a North London derby. Thank God it wasn't a winner. Thank God it wasn't a winner.
It even had curl. Like it was. There was at no moment that I thought that was a Rabona. And I'm watching it with my 5-year-old, and I don't want him. I try not to get him using the word hate. It's just not a nice word for a 5-year-old. But I'm like, we hate this team. Like it's okay. It's okay to say it when it's Spurs. And anyway, we're watching it and we're dominating and all of that stuff. And we just had this conversation about dominating possession but doing nothing with it. And then that motherfucker out of nowhere, how the thought even went through his head that was the best option to get on. Did he nutmeg 2 players in the process? And then he even got curl. So he didn't want to use his right foot that badly that the Rabona was the only option. Unbelievable.
I mentioned I watched it with an American who's got absolutely no interest in football, thinks our football is just boring and stupid.
Yeah.
He looked at that and went, fuck, what did motherfucker do there? Fuck. And, and it was the first time he'd shown any interest in watching football.
Wow. Unbelievable. I'm loath to praise that motherfucker, that greasy piece of shit, but he says with greasy long black hair. But anyway,
actually, there was a comment there. I'm just going to go back. I did like one of the early comments that we got there that said, this pod has what most pods need, more underarm hair. I think.
Oh, fantastic. I knew I shouldn't have fiddled with my thing. And, anyway.
There was another one from ArseBros Ryan. Once ArseBros gets famous, Toby's the next spokesman for Head and Shoulders. You're getting lots of comments on your looks today, Toby.
Well, you got to take it. When you're out there, you got to cop it. So we'll accept all of those with love. But the Lamela goal, unbelievable, and I'm loath to give him too much praise. But the dirty motherfucker got sent off. He got exactly what he deserved because he was he was in a lot of players, and that should have been almost the end point for us to calmly see out the rest of the game. And as we know, that wasn't the case.
It's funny that, we were talking about Tierney, and I don't think there's an Arsenal fan alive who doesn't love Tierney, from the Tesco bag, as we've talked about, through to his attitude, to his ability to cross the ball. He's superb. Hopefully he'll be our left back for the next 10 years. He's that good. We love him. And I'm not saying about it in this incident particularly, but he enough go down and hold his face a lot for such a tough Scottish hard man. He gets a little flick in his chest and he rolls around holding his face. And it's my pet hate with football these days.
Me too. I'm actually annoyed that you pointed it out, because I must have tunnel vision, because I haven't actually noticed it with Tierney, whereas anyone else, I would be having a real problem with that.
Yeah, but I mean, it seems like every game he'll get one in the chest, he'll get one in the shoulder, and he goes down rolling around holding his face. And he is a tough man, And yet
I reckon it's coached. It's coached, Daz. It's such a repeat sprint game. These guys are absolutely shagged, and I reckon rolling around and clutching at something and screaming is an opportunity just to slow the play down a little bit and catch a breather and reset in your formation.
That's one of the things we've learned with this lockdown, with not being able to go to football matches. I always have the crowd noise on. I can't watch it without the crowd noise, because it just feels like watching Sunday morning football.
It's horrible.
I might as well go over at Hackney Marshes and watch a game. But the one thing that has come out is just how much these grown men scream. Do you know, they really do scream like girls, don't they? Really scream. And it's embarrassing. It's really embarrassing.
But it's coached. It's coached. I was playing five-a-side a few years ago, and there was, and it was a fairly rough game, as amateur football tends to be. And there was this Italian bloke, Aussie Italian, but in an Italian strip, and I followed through with a tackle, and he was like a ballet dancer. He hurled himself to the ground. I'm like, there's no fucking ref here. Actually, there was a ref. I tell a lie, but in any case, it was just ridiculous. So people revere that. They look up to the footballers, and that's the way it's played. So it's been ingrained in the culture, and I think it's certainly coached into it now as well. But it's bloody horrible. Couple of things that we didn't touch on, which I think we really should. Let's do a 2-in-1, because I think they're quite a good package together, even though I didn't think they were initially. Is Odegaard and ESR. The performance from Odegaard, he was my man of the match, by the way. I thought he really controlled the tempo nicely, held possession. I thought he pressed well. I thought he won the ball back when he lost it. He really showed desire. He was creative, and he scored our first goal. I thought he had an absolutely brilliant performance. And ESR was, for me, the player that made it in that first half in particular, and set up an awful lot of chances and hit the bar as well. So if we discuss the two players now, for me, ESR showed a hell of a lot of pace. So I have more faith in him as a left winger. And I think Odegaard is really starting to come into his own. So would you care to elaborate on that?
Yeah, it's funny. Odegaard's a funny one for me, because, I've been watching Arsenal for 40 years. Blimey, longer, 50 years. I've been watching Arsenal for a long time, and I've never really had a situation where we've got players on loan. We're the sort of club that loans out players. So I find it's a little bit of a strange situation where you've got a player that you've only got for a few months, and then he's possibly going back. So I'm a little bit low that Arteta seems to be building his team around Odegaard. He's got him in when there was a lot of talk that he wasn't the sort of player we needed, because ESR had just started to play very well in that position. So he gets in a player on loan. Obviously, he must want him for next year, but whether we can afford it or whether Real Madrid, there's too many ifs in there. So he seems to be building his team around him. And then he shunts ESR over onto the left-hand side, and we all think that's a terrible decision, So, and then Odegaard had a bad game. Yep. Was it the last game or the game before last? He had probably his poorest game. Not terrible.
Yeah, I think it was his last. Was it his last Premier League game, or the one before that? Maybe the Burnley game that he was not good. Anyway, continue.
And Emil Smith Rowe was out injured in that game, I think. So it was all or nothing on him. So we've sort of got, but against Tottenham at the weekend, that's where you sort of see how they can both work. You know, you're right. Ødegaard completely controlled that game. He's not only his work going forward, but he chases back. He presses really well. He's a smart player. I think Arteta likes, one of the things I like, he likes intelligent players. You know, he really does like intelligent players. And Smith Rowe getting shunted out on the left seemed like a mistake to me. But when you can see his smart running and how well he worked with Tierney down that left-hand side.
Yeah, great point. Great point.
You know, nobody's going to be able to stop them. So,
no, I agree entirely. I thought ESR's runs and give and goes with Tierney in particular, and how they link up with Xhaka over on that side with those left-sided through balls. I thought that was, you know, our most productive area. And I know their fullback didn't have a great game. I don't really know him, but Doherty or Doherty.
I think that's Doherty, isn't it, from Wolves? And you know, he's a big transfer. He was really, you know, he's one of the best, in theory, one of the best right backs in the country. You know, and
because
they destroyed him.
Yep. And it was great to see, and our dominance really came from that. You know, we had very clever cycling of possession, retaining of possession, the through balls, the give and goes. They were all well timed, and you know, we were cutting through them consistently. You know, the only tactic I don't like or potentially give them credit was their clearances, because we were crossing a lot and they were getting in front of everything. So that was pretty positive. We'll have a quick chat about the penalty. Once again, me being a bit old school, I thought we were a little bit lucky. I've heard from independent sources that it's complete stonewall penalty, and that Sanchez was an idiot for following through the way he did. I thought we were fortunate. Massive air swing, you know, nicking the ball from Lacazette, and I think he was fortunate that that he got bundled over.
Yeah, I think
your
it's fairly easy
your thoughts on that?
I think if it was anywhere on the pitch, it's a bit reckless, and the ref would have blown for a foul. So in that case, I can understand the stonewall penalty bit, because anywhere else on the pitch, if a player makes that sort of high sort of challenge, then it would have been a free kick. We wouldn't have talked anything about it. However,
and I guess he didn't take any of the ball, did he?
However, so that's never a penalty. Just gets out an air shot. If that was us, that's what I think. You've always got to look at that. If you turn that around, and if that had been David Luiz doing that,
I would have been up and down. I would have been.
But we would have been 100% of absolutely. It was never a penalty if that was against us, you know. So no, very, very lucky. I mean, it was the right decision in that the referee. We needed something. We hit the bar. We hit the post. You know, we so dominant, and then a worldie from Lamela. Everything's going tits up. It was so important that we got a bit of luck, and we haven't had a lot of luck lately. You know, we really get against us.
And I'll come back to that point, is that I don't give a shit, because we've had the worst refereeing decisions and the worst luck over the last few games. So we'll take it. You know, if you're someone that says it evens out, we certainly have started from quite far in the negative to make up to, you know, to coming back to even. So we'll certainly take that one. Is there anything that you had as a burning discussion or a burning desire to discuss?
I think listen, people won't like me for this. I keep hearing about how great Thomas Partey is. And I really, really, I'm an Arsenal fan with all my heart. Love Arsenal. And I hope he becomes the new Patrick Vieira. I just haven't seen it yet. I keep hearing people giving him man of the match, you know, great player. He makes the other players around him play better. Xhaka is a much better player because Partey's alongside him. And to be honest, Xhaka has been a much better player, whoever's been alongside him, whether it be El Neni, Ødegaard, you know, Xhaka is playing our best, you know, his best football. And yet all I hear all day long is Xhaka's terrible, Xhaka's a cunt, Xhaka shouldn't be in this side. Partey's the best, Partey's incredible, Partey's supreme. And yet I keep watching him thinking, he's not really done too much, you know, really. And he's been with us. He's been out injured. He's not been consistent. He's had very quiet games. You know, I mean, I was actually quite pleased to see El Neni come on. You know, and then when he
I
kicked
wouldn't
that ball
go.
off
I
the
wouldn't
corner
go that
towards the end,
far.
I'm thinking, where is this £50 million Atletico Madrid player that's been coached supremely by Diego Simeone? And I really, and look, I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm not saying he's had bad games. I just don't see what all the hype is about yet. Am I wrong?
Fantastic point. All right, so this is something that that I was hoping that we would discuss. I wouldn't go as far as you saying I was celebrating when Buddy El Neni was coming on. I will never do that in my life.
I've got a history of supporting El Neni.
It's a functional thing when you're going to protect something, and he's great for what he is, and I love him as a person. Now with Partey, the first part of your point, I think he instantly improved Xhaka, because I think anyone new coming in makes a competitive person better, because you just have to be better. You're not going to let the new guy come in and make you obsolete or make you worse. So I think Partey did improve Xhaka immediately because of that. The second part where I think he improves Xhaka is that Partey's better at moving the play forward. So Partey is a higher risk taker than I originally thought, rather than a holder. So his ability to use his speed, his quickness of thought to bypass that initial player that's pressing him. So Partey makes us go forward quicker. All right. The thing I'm a little bit disappointed in Partey with is some of the stray passing. So all of the things that we would shit on the other players for poor pass completion, or opening us up to transition, or giving away fouls, that type of thing. That's potentially maybe not the fouls thing, but the opening us up to transition thing potentially, and the loose passing is what I would say he's not quite as good as I thought he was. But what I love about him is the size and the aggression and the ability to win that second ball. And I think that's where the Arsenal midfield, for as long as I can remember, has sucked balls. Like, I'm talking as far back as Vieira, Petit, Ray Parlour, those type of aggressive players that if they lost the ball, you would be hurt to get it back. The desire was there, rather than the pretty technical players, which was all about possession and triangles and tiki-taka. But they would be opened up. They would be cut through like a souffle at any moment in a transition. So I think your point on Partey is valid, that he's actually been quite inconsistent and hasn't always been the best, and has given the ball away more. But I really feel that he's a good what's the word I'm looking for? A good foil for Xhaka, because they're really different, and then they complement each other in the right way defensively. They're very different in the way they go forward, but they're a brilliant defensive combination.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm hoping that as I said, I hope that he fulfills that hype. All my point is that there's been so much talk. I watch football.
I agree. Yep.
Anyone, Arsenal fans, you'll all disagree with me, but you watch Xhaka for the last 2 months. He's been a best player, consistently our best player. There's been a mistake or two in there, but who doesn't make mistakes? Consistently our best player.
And he's played every minute of every fucking game.
Left back when he needs to, playing lots more attacking balls, having a few shots, scoring some goals. Xhaka has been outstanding. And I just want to mention a comment here, the Gooners podcast. He sort of summed up what I'm thinking. I think Partey, with some time off and a full pre-season, will be an absolute beast next season. This season so far has been stop-start, and that gets in a person's head. And that's exactly where I am. I hope that as he grows into this club and he grows into his role, he will become the player they're hyping about. But my point is that you just got to watch the two. Xhaka looks like the £50 million player, and Partey looks like the £30 million player. And people just don't seem to get that. But then I'm a bloke who loved Guendouzi. I thought Guendouzi was going to be a star for Arsenal. Obviously he's got he's got a young man syndrome where he's got some issues. And
it's funny, and we're getting a bit general with the discussion now. But I was not so much of a Guendouzi fan. So for the very reason, I think with what you're saying is that a lot of Arsenal fans buy into the narrative. They're told who to love and who to hate, and there isn't a lot of independent thought going on. We live in a world of sensationalized headlines and clickbait and, deliberately divisive comments and points of views, and even our ex-pundits, who are Arsenal fans or Arsenal players are even playing that role of being, divisive in their views. So for me, Guendouzi wasn't my biggest fan. I loved his aggression at the start, but then I also realized that he followed the ball around like a fucking headless chicken and left, acres of open spaces, and often left a player like Xhaka completely exposed. Sure. And then
it's one of my criticisms of Arteta was that he didn't resolve that Guendouzi situation, in that all of those things that we liked about Guendouzi, he hated losing the ball. He had a bit of flair. He had an engine. He loved to close people down. He loved to tackle, but he wasn't disciplined in his play. He just wasn't disciplined. He had a sending off in him all the time. He would just chase the ball like a headless chicken, as you said, and leave people exposed. And I thought Arteta would be a good enough manager to control that beast. And I thought he could be a really good Arsenal player in the future. And I still hope he can. I think there's an incredible talent in there.
It's a really good point, because everything you've described with Guendouzi is everything I love about footballers. I'm such a sucker for aggression and being a fans player. I'm an absolute sucker for it, but there was just something about him that didn't always gel with me, and potentially he was aligned a bit too much with Emery as Emery's favourite, and maybe that's why I sort of fixated on him as being someone that I decided that I didn't support so much. I wanted to see more of Torreira. I never got to see Torreira enough in my opinion. But all of those very good points, and very interesting discussion. I will bring one thing up. So I had a scribble on the 68th minute, Daz. All right, I'm going to read this. So I just thought this is something that I have to write down, because I found it a really interesting point. I haven't listened to a lot of the other podcasts yet because I've been busy, so I don't know if anyone else has brought it up. But I've written here, Pepe on the 68th minute, he just showed why Arteta doesn't pick him. A goal up, trying to keep possession and protect the lead. One touch attacking through ball, which is intercepted, counter-attack, Spurs so close to scoring. Transitions is what Arteta is trying to avoid. Not that Pepe is bad, but his game management and intelligence isn't always great. Thoughts?
Well, for a start, we talked about Arteta liking intelligent players, and this is where Odegaard fits so well into this side, because he's a smart player. I think Arteta wants smart footballers, and I think that's where Pepe has taken time to settle under Arteta, because he's not disciplined. He's a flair player, he's a luxury player, and when that's not working, there's very little to put him in the side. Where I disagree is, I think in the last 2 months, and he's not been first choice, he has got better and better and better, because he is chasing back. He's starting to understand his role in this team. And the mistake you're talking about, which led to a Tottenham counter-attack, I can counter with the fact that he broke up the play and then hits a fabulous first-time ball through, which creates the instant from which we score. And that's something that there's a natural ability to this player that's got this way of changing a game. And I think he's growing into this team, and he is growing under Arteta. I think he will be an exceptional player next year. And where you mentioned at the very start, what a good squad we've got, with an option of Saka or Pepe on one side, and Emil Smith-Rowe or Martinelli or Willian, you know, or on the other side.
You get a good number 9 in there, and somehow we managed to keep Odegaard, and we're pretty happy. Things are starting to look pretty rosy.
Love it.
You know, we've even got
might even get back there this season.
We've even got your mate. We've got El Neni in there, who's playing a really good team role, which is exactly what he was bought to do.
Well, El Neni, look, I know those who listen to me over the years. It isn't that I'm a big El Neni fan, but at the start of this year, I could see just by watching football that El Neni was doing all the basic things that Arteta wanted right.
He was brilliant in the Charity Shield. I'm sorry to butt in, but he was the best player on the pitch in that game.
Well, for me, he was just doing the simple things. He was passing the ball. He was the one Arteta wants to play out from the back. He was the one that went to receive the ball. He's the one that can turn left or right because he's two-footed. He's the one that didn't give ball away. And everyone was complaining about he was sideways and he was defensive and he wasn't very good, and Thomas Partey's going to be the new big thing, and we need an attacking midfielder, we need a defensive midfielder. These were the complaints that I got. All I saw was for 6 weeks, El Neni being a really solid, consistent player. Now, I didn't say then at the time he should be our starter for the next 5 years, but I just couldn't understand the criticism that he was getting as a player for doing what the manager wanted him to do. I thought he was exceptional. And as the season's developed, he's got less and less first choice football. He's become a very good squad player, and people have started to accept him. But that goal we scored against Benfica last week, you know, we're going into that game on Thursday night this week in a really strong position because El Neni smashed one in from 30 yards. You know, let's give the guy some credit. You know, let's really just appreciate that he's an Arsenal player, and I'm a supporter. Let's support the players. Why does everyone have to be shit? You know, why do we always watch football trying to justify our opinions that player's no good, so he's always going to be shit, and he can play 9 good passes, but the one bad pass means that Xhaka's shit?
2 reasons, Darren. Social media and the way that everything is black and white these days. Everything is pro and anti. There's no grey area. There's nothing in the middle. So we are, to be on my high horse, we are manipulated constantly with our train of thought by the surroundings that we have, because division and debate is what creates more viewership, which is how money is made. So we have actually been trained, instead of enjoying football and supporting our team, every single discussion, in or out. Arteta in, Arteta out. Not enjoying your team because it's your team, and enjoying.
I'm glad you brought up social media. You just reminded me.
And enjoying the process. I'll finish my one thing because you started on this earlier. I have enjoyed watching Arsenal more the last few months than I have for quite a long period of time. Even the FA Cups were relief, because we'd had so long without. So we're actually starting to see something for the future. We've got London Colney kids. We've got clever, it's actually starting to feel like our club again. So anyway, you know, I hope I'm not being too positive, because that's uncool.
I think what you're saying is absolutely what is wrong in football and what we need to do. You know, this is it. We've got a manager in the club who's got a long-term plan. We've got a great academy that is starting to bring some great players through. We're spending money within our means, but by investing 70 million in Pepe and 50 million in Partey shows the ambition of the club. So I think, and you know, we're playing some exceptionally good football at times. You know, I'm excited for the future. You know, really am. I'm loving watching Arsenal. I'm loving watching this football club. All I wanted to say about social media, I am on Twitter, but I'm not the most active. And I just wanted, you just reminded me there, I wanted to just apologise to Mike Scunny, Scanny, who I noticed this morning, just this morning, sent me a message on the 26th of February saying, would I like to go on a podcast? I know it, and I only saw it this morning. So, Mike, sorry. Yes, I would have loved to, but send me a WhatsApp. Anyway, look, we've done over an hour.
No, it was you stole my thunder. You stole my thunder, Daz. We were going to finish on the high of where we were going, and we were really enjoying watching Arsenal. So let's finish there, and let's trick the viewers or the listeners into us finishing on that high. We'll finish there. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope it hasn't been too much of a positive fest. I know Max likes a lot more debate in this, and you and I have just bloody agreed with each other the whole time. So we need more divisive language and more, and more debate.
Toby, we've just beaten Spurs and we've just won 3-1 away in the Europa League. Why shouldn't we be positive this week? Why shouldn't we be?
It's fucking happy days. It's happy days. Anyway, thanks everyone for listening. With a kind of ArseBros OG, and we'll be back for the next review pod soon. Good.
This is an ArseBros production.